The Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds, Nodulator Pro, and Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans.
Bernard Tobin here this morning on the Soybean School. It's almost May 10th, and I'm talking to Dale Cowan, AGRIS agronomist, and we're going to talk about soybeans. Dale, how's it going? I know it's wet.
Well, it is, and I'm just wondering if you brought more rain, Bernard. We didn't need any more of that.
I did. It started raining as soon as I pulled in.
Yeah, well, you know, you're gonna have to go. Then I'm sorry, but yeah, it certainly has been challenging, and you know, we were kind of here last year at this time, although we did have an early start, and that's something we're missing right now. Yeah. So we're kind of getting to that critical time period around that middle of May to start thinking about what we're going to do with some of these soybean maturities.
Yeah. Now, you talk about May 15th. You got to start thinking here about, you know, whether you need to move. Come May 15th, what's that decision process?
Well, in the past, what we found through research is that if you're growing a longer day bean, you get it in before May 15th, you can pick up almost another 4 or 5 bushels just on longer maturing beans, like a half a maturity group higher than normal. So if you're in a traditional group, maturity group 2 range, you can probably get away with a 2.5 up to about May 15th. And if you can do that, you're not going to interfere with wheat planting. But after that, that gets to be maybe a longer day bean that perhaps was going to extend the season and maybe be a challenge for planting wheat on time. Yeah. So you tend to, about May 15th, think about moving back to your adapted maturity range for your area. But I want to qualify that everything I'm going to say to you today is going to be qualified by environment and management conditions, so everything is tempered by that. So we'll talk more about some thumb rules today than anything else, knowing that there's always wiggle room in everything we say.
Yeah. What about, I mean, like the bottom line is, whether it's the 15th or the 30th, planting in the fit ground is so important.
It absolutely is, and soybeans do not take kindly to being put into soil that's going to compact, right? That may not play out early in the season, but boy, that certainly shows up at R5 when you're trying to fill beans, and those roots, that root system just isn't there to gather the nutrients that are needed. So it is not something that soybeans really like to experience. Yeah.
Disease is another factor. You know, we want to make sure that we're going into that good environmental, you know, situation.
Yeah, diseases are always present. We call them endemic. So we have Rhizoc, Phytophthora, Fusarium root rot complexes, sudden death syndrome, soybean cyst nematode. They're always there, and they're going to be more prevalent when the more backward conditions at planting time occur. So if it's going to be a slow, cold spring, and we finally do manage to plant, and it takes 20 days for beans to come out of the ground, well, that's going to increase the risk for more disease pressure on the soybeans, just a longer window for infection. So those things are always there, which means you want to make sure you got a good fungicide package on your soybean seed.
Yeah. People always say, you know, soybeans have that ability to adjust. Longer days, shorter days. You know, sometimes the weather after planting is more important than the weather before.
Well, certainly the initial, some people say the first 4 hours, some people say the first 24 hours, you want warm water imbibition to keep that vigor in the soybean. And so if you're going to plant in soils less than 10 degrees Celsius, you may run into some vigor issues and some stand emergence issues and final population count. So that's always a consideration, a concern is watch your soil planting temperatures. And the other thing too is this maturity group we talk about is, you know, the difference between a group 1 and a group 1.5 is every decimal point is 1 day. So the difference in maturity between a 1 and 1.5 is 5 days. So when you start to think in terms of, well, what am I going to pick for my variety as time moves on, that's how you consider those maturity numbers, is how to pick something that's a little, especially if you want to plant wheat.
Right. And bottom line, I mean, like as I say, we're here May 10th. Sit tight for a little bit and then start doing some management.
Well, I'd say we know that 3 days of warm, windy weather and sunshine and mid-20s, we'll go from too wet to too dry in a hurry, just like we did last year. There was an awful lot of soybeans got planted in dry dirt with no-till last year that got under the trash but sitting on top of the ground. And boy, we really, when those conditions are changed so quickly, we really got to adapt our management all the time. And one of the things I always tell the growers, get off the tractor, dig up. You know, there's lots of tools that seed companies provide. These handy-dandy little seed depth finders are made out of metal. You can dig and find. There's a little ruler on it. You know kind of what your seeding depth is. And when you pull that trash back and the beans are sitting on top of the ground under the trash, you need to set that drill just a little deeper. And this one's nice because it's got a bottle opener on it, so you might need that. So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get this done and we can enjoy one of those beverages rather than having to reach for them too early.
Too early.
Awesome.
That's right. We want to finally get started. And I'm saying that, yes, we're behind last year by the calendar. Haven't lost a lot of heat units yet or a lot of weather. So we know that things can change.
Yep.
And we're still May 10th, so we're still a few days yet. And we're kind of looking at the weather radar and hoping some of that stuff passes by. But so far, no luck.
Yeah.
But it'll come one of these days.
It'll come. It'll pass. All things will pass, and we'll get some beans to the ground. Thanks for your time.
You're quite welcome anytime.
Awesome.